from Rockfine Group and founder of the Bull Ring, which is Birmingham's answer to the Dragon's Den and Shark Tank. It's an entrepreneur showcase that allows people to show off their businesses, talk to investors and possible future partners, and even clients, either over Zoom or in person. What's in it for you? One, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to learn what else is out there, what problems people are running into, and also what investors and clients are looking for in new products. If you're a person that wants to invest, you're going to see what's happening out there and what type of companies are looking for partnerships or things that they can be invested in or actually receive money for. The Bull Ring trains you up a week ahead of time to walk through your 5-minute pitch. You get to do that with the other pitchers. You get to see what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Then on the day, you get your 5-minute pitch to sometimes 75 to 100 different people that will either know more about your company as a client, as a potential partner, or even a potential investor. Our pitchers have had the opportunity to partner up with Microsoft, Amazon, some of the big gaming names, and even some potential European big boys. If you're just somebody from the general public and you want to know what's happening here in Birmingham and the wider Midlands, then you'd come along to see what's happening for businesses that are startup or scale up. Hello, everybody. Welcome out. I'm BD Dalton, founder of the Bull Ring. You saw the little video there. Today we have 3 great pitches. We have 3 great bulls, and you're going to get to meet them all. But I really want to walk you through what we do here. This is a showcase, the Bull Ring showcase. So Lauren, if you could put the slides up, we'll kind of go through the normal introductions. So here we go. And as we go, the Bull Ring showcase. So it's a showcase. So we talk about investment. We actually work investment. If Lauren, if you could make that larger, that would be good. So we talk about investment, but it's not like the Dragon's Den where people are sat on a stack of cash to hand it out. So what we're doing here is we have our bulls, and our bulls are here to increase your knowledge, the ideas, and the questions that will be asked of our pitchers to the actual investors and people that are going to participate with them. So we'll get to hear great feedback, and I'll introduce you to our bulls for today in a little while. But then we move on to the pitchers. The pitchers are here, and we are sector agnostic. We have a lot of tech, but sometimes today we have some manufacturing that includes tech. We have 2 other tech platforms because that's typically right now what's the rage. So we get a lot of that. But we've had everything from manufacturers to movies to games to all that type of stuff. So really what we try to do, and actually out of the last 2 pitches that have gone through here, we've actually had 2 investments last time. So it's starting to work even better. So the good thing about COVID's been hard for a lot of people, and that's there. But what it's done for us is it's created a global network for us. So we actually have people that are pitching from all over the globe. We've had bulls from all over the globe. We've had companies that have been either watching or engaging with us. Perfect, Lauren. From all these countries and more. So we've had more than 30 countries participate, whether it's viewing, pitching, bulls, all over the place. So it's gone from what I said in that video of Birmingham and the Greater Midlands to a global reach. So next slide, please. So how does it work? If we move on to the next slide, what this is, and I'm here to kind of MC lead this. So I make sure that we keep things on track. I keep things timed, make sure that everything kicks along, and Lauren keeps everything running around in the background, but they get 5 minutes. Then after they pitch for 5 minutes, they get the bulls feedback. Then in between this, which we don't have on the slide yet, but we added in two bull rings ago, they actually get to respond. So the pitchers actually get to respond for 1 minute, so they don't go too in depth. They get to respond to the questions from the bulls. Then you guys get to participate also from the audience to give feedback, instantaneous feedback to these pitchers, because that's what they need. They need to see not only what the bulls are thinking, but what the market thinks or what potential partners are thinking. So we do that in the form of a poll. So Lauren, can we go to the next slide, please? So we talk about being invest a bull or not invest a bull? So let's try out a poll here to see if you guys are any good at this. Usually it takes us about 45 seconds on the first one. So is this your first time coming to the bull ring? How many bulls have taken part? 30 plus, 40 plus, 25 plus. And then who's the company behind the bull ring? Amazon, Rockfine, Tesla. And I can't read the bottom one, but I'll have to scroll down. So if everybody starts to fill those in. Here we go. Lauren, we will make it so if you would, how close are we to being able to, there it is. So, wow, 63% of the people that are here are attending for their first time. That's awesome. Welcome to your first bull ring. 30 plus is the right one. Actually, we're moving closer to 40 plus now. And then let's see, do we get some cool ones? Look at that. Yeah, like I said last time, it's kind of getting old. Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk did call me to participate, but I said, we don't have time for that right now. But the Rockfine Group is the one that we are the ones that make this happen for you and make sure that we can showcase the great companies you're going to get to meet today. But it all happens because of our bulls. You're going to get professional expert feedback today from 3 bulls. These guys have been doing things all over, guys and gals have been doing things all over investment range, from building companies, selling companies, investing in companies, coaching companies, doing all this stuff. So they're going to give real and proper feedback. So no matter whether you're pitching for money or you're trying to sell more stuff into a recession, listen to what this is, because it's not all about just selling. Before I get to the bulls, I want to bring Michael in to talk about a little bit about Pitch Perfect practice, because 5 minutes is hell sometimes for somebody that can talk for an hour about their company. Mike, over to you about Pitch Perfect practice and what they've had to go through.
Let's be fair, BD. It's not talking for just an hour. If you've created a baby, this is your business, it's your invention, it's what you've been living and breathing for weeks, months, years, decades in some cases. And then you've got 5 minutes. 5 minutes to engage, connect, and generate interest. This is not about trying to find somebody who's going to turn around and say, here's my big bag of cash, walk away with it. This is about generating interest so that the bulls and the bulls connections can turn around and say, that's really interesting. I want to talk to you about that. So what we do in Pitch Perfect practice is help the businesses just consolidate their words, consolidate what they're trying to share, so that they generate interest. And then off the back of that, conversations come together. Because all of the businesses can be pitching for finance, non-exec director support, new residents, new facilities, or employees, or all of the above. So this isn't just pure cash we're looking for. So it's finding out how to best engage, best connect, and generate those levels of interest where people turn around and say, I know somebody you should be talking to. I've got an interest in that. Let's have a conversation. That's the target for today. In the $1 million, £1 million pitch, it's always worth that. That's got to be the focus. Off the back of this, can we generate interest? That's the goal for this morning, or this afternoon, should I say.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Okay, Lauren, our first bull, bring him up. Vicky, first time bull, Vicky Sylvester. So Vicky, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you're looking for when people are pitching or engaging with you from an entrepreneur's point of view?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Really good to see everybody. So my background is in education and business. So I'm CEO of an independent training provider based in the UK, and also executive director of a global conglomerate of organisations that we've acquired and done numerous acquisitions and things over the years. And I think what I'm looking for today is how the pitchers are as leaders, and what they envisage their business for, what impact this business is going to have on people and planets. That's a particular interest of mine. So I'm really keen to see how they impact that social and environmental side within their businesses.
Perfect. Thank you. And welcome, Vicky. It's great to have you on board. Okay, next up, our next bull, a returning bull, Volker. So Volker, could you tell us a little bit more about your background and where you come from and what you're looking for today?
Sure, thanks for having me back. So yeah, I'm I think 7 or so times founder or co-founder, everything self-finance, venture-backed, buyout, you name it. Some successes, some not so successful. I've been an angel investor for quite a while, and today I'm a partner at Amadeus Capital. We're a Cambridge and London-based venture capital fund. Our current early stage fund from which I invest is a £110 million fund. We're best known for deep tech. You see here on the screen. It's all like really complicated looking stuff, and invest usually at seed and A with checks between £500,000 and £3 million. There you go. So I built most of my businesses. I built in gaming, some education tech, etc. And I'm originally a lawyer, so I can opine on many things. Thank you.
Very good. No, thank you. And welcome again. Welcome back. And our last bull, a new bull today, is Chris Blackwell and part of Birmingham Tech. So over to you, Chris.
Thanks, BD. So yeah, I'm Chris Blackwell. I wear a few hats. So I'm a CEO of a consultancy called Purpose-Led Performance, and we work with scale-ups and purpose-driven businesses on performance and growth. I'm also a director of Birmingham Tech, which runs Birmingham Tech Week, and I wear the hat as scale-up lead and ran a scale-up program through Birmingham Tech last year. And then I wear a third hat, so I'm the co-founder of something called the Purpose Collective, and we run 2 sessions a month to an international community of business leaders called Conversations About Purpose. And so what I'm looking for in terms of the pitches, I'm always interested in understanding the market and the opportunity, and the understanding that the entrepreneurs have. I'm really interested in the story of the business, and I'm interested to see how they make it simple and understandable, because it's their baby. Often these things are very complex, but actually can they really purify and distill the message down into something that is easily understandable so that you really understand the opportunity and what they're going to do.
Perfect. Hopefully we'll get some of that today, because when they've gone through Pitch Perfect practice, they were great stories, but they were very long. So we've kind of nailed them down and said, what does it really do? So here's how we go. Let's move on to the next slide, Lauren. So our first pitcher today, we're going to have this. So Oliver from OurGen. So if we can get Oliver up on screen and we let him share his screen.
There we go. Can everyone see me?
Not yet. We can see you. Now we can see the screen.
You can see the screen as well.
So Oliver's pitched lots of times. He's good at this. But Oliver, welcome to the Bull Ring. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. My name's Oliver. I'm the co-founder of OurGen, and I quit university after a lifelong aspiration of becoming a lawyer. And the reason why was because the support I got at university was terrible. At the moment, at universities, there's 1,600 students for every career advisor. And it means that career services cannot scale properly within universities. And at the moment, they're struggling a lot. And that's only at 35% of capacity because students don't even know that they exist. And not only that, but also career services are struggling to connect with the real world of employers. And that means that employers are receiving unqualified, underskilled students. And that's why I quit university, because my career service did not give me the service I needed to become a lawyer. So how are we going to approach this problem? OurGen is going to digitize career services so they can scale their offering to every single student on campus. And the way that we're going to deliver that is through 3 key ways. The first is providing a digital environment for students to engage in their network with alumni and career services. They're going to have access to a pool of mentors who have been there, done it in the industry, so they can connect with them rather than talking to their lecturers. And finally, we produce fantastic content in the form of insights, which is careers information of how to actually prepare for applications at companies. And what we're raising investment for now is to build a career AI, which will help students to digitally create their career pathways. I think it's a bit of background noise. If someone could just kindly mute. Thank you.
We don't know exact.
So at the moment, we have an MVP site with 5,500
mute?
users. I'll stop in a minute until that's muted, if that's okay.
Because they don't know they can use our platform. They don't know how they can improve themselves. Right. So basically,
Barry, I think I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry, I'll stop your time for a second.
Sorry, thank you.
And to find out.
Could somebody please turn off their volume? Thank you. Nope, they still haven't done it. Hold on for a second. Sorry, Ollie, that's.
Like dozen millions on the.
Who's
I don't
Yeah.
know who it is, but
Dan.
I'm just trying to.
go? Okay, so sorry, Ollie. Sorry about that, Ollie. It's
Oh.
not happened before, but here we go.
It's all right, don't
So
worry.
you're
Are we
back
back
on.
on?
You've still got 3 minutes, so go for it, man.
Fantastic. Thanks for pausing the time. So like I said, I've got 5,500 active users on our MVP site. And as a bootstrap business, it's an amazing achievement. And the reason why we've achieved that is because we have fantastic content from companies like Amazon to attract students to our platform. And one of our biggest strengths is the B2C side of the platform. With a zero marketing spend, we've achieved those results, and we've exponentially managed to maintain our retention of users. So you can see here with 5,500 student users in our B2C model, we can achieve 9.5% daily active users, which blows everything out of the water in our industry, because students, they're lazy, they're hard to engage with. And our content and our strategy allows us to do that. Now, with this investment round, I've explained why we're good at B2C and we've proven that model. But with this round, we want to explore the B2B side of things. And that's where it comes into the digitizing the career services. So what we're doing now to work on that is building a robust distribution network across 525 cities around the world. That's locked into an exclusive agreement. And we're currently training 40 reps to sell our gen to their universities. We have 18 deals in the pipeline already. But the problem at the moment is that we're hitting a barrier and we need that investment to unlock those deals. With this distribution network as well, it will also allow us to reduce our CAC, and that's down to £2,000. And I'll go into the detail now of how we do that. So myself, co-founder and CEO, I sort of manage the team, grow that and build the infrastructure. But Tom is responsible for growing those sales. He has a fantastic background in SaaS. He's our CGO, and he's the one who's built that distribution network. He's a professional CRM consultant as well. So he's going to help us scale that so we can actually deliver on those deals that I spoke to you about earlier. We have Paul, he's our inside man. So he's an academic coordinator at the University of Barcelona. And what he's going to be doing is providing the business with intelligence and insight into how universities behave. I'll be very transparent, they're very difficult to sell to. Universities have a high barrier of entry, but when we get inside them, we can actually have a very sticky product that lasts for 4 or 5 years. So Paul's going to contribute that to the business. We also have Matteo. He's recently joined Meta as a product designer, and he's going to be giving advice to us in the technical side of things, because again, we're an edtech platform and he'll be able to help us with that. And I think the reason why we've managed to achieve the results we have as a bootstrap business is down to the team that we've built and how we can scale. We have 19 student interns who are dedicating their time, and they will continue with us to learn and grow with the company. So we're asking for £370,000 pre-seed, SCIS registered already, HMRC approved that, and majority of the funds are going to be spent on the tech. At the moment, we're using plugins and we're relying on other softwares, and I want to invest in the technology so we can develop the career AI and then develop the B2B side of the business so we can sell that offering. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to any questions you have.
Thank you very much, and thanks for putting up with the challenge.
Okay.
So we're going to start off with Vicky. Vicky, if you have some feedback for Ollie, and then Ollie can respond. But Ollie, you only get a minute to respond to Vicky's question, so choose your favorite bit of response. So Vicky, over to you.
Thank you, and congratulations, Ollie. That was really good, especially with the disturbances. So obviously you're looking at the university market. Have you considered other markets that you might be looking at as well?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've built a relationship with recruitment agencies because they struggle to produce content and show off what they have to offer. So what we've done is we've actually generated revenue through this already. We create case studies with our content and promote their recruitment agency. So then our student talent pool will want to use them to get a job. And we've already actually committed revenue through that channel already. But the beauty of this platform is that because it's students and recruitment, there's multiple players in this, and I'd love to explore those opportunities later down the line.
Okay. And also, one of the things that was thinking through when you're thinking about people, you know, have you got a people focus? Is this about the end user for you, or is this about the tech for you?
This is about the end user. The reason why I started this was because I quit university. I had a bad service. At the moment, the entire market is focused on employers, or it's the big corporates with data. There's nothing that focuses on the student, and that's how we have achieved those results already on a bootstrap budget.
Okay. And what aspirations have you got for your students off the back of your product?
I want my students to stand out as professionals. At the moment, they're not equipped with the basic skills. I was learning how to write 3,000 word essays and not how to do presentations like this, which ultimately help professionals become the leaders in those industries. And at the moment, they start at the bottom because of the way that the system's created.
Okay, one last question, if that's all right, BD. It's just around competitors. So who do you think are your main competitors at the moment in the market?
Our biggest competitors are LinkedIn and Glassdoor. They're the two big ones. They have fantastic networks and great data. The problem is that they're very rigid and they have very vague content, which doesn't make it relatable to students. They feel alienated. And that's what our USP will be, is to make the student feel like they're the focus of their journey.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ollie.
Great questions. Great questions and great feedback there. So Volker, over to you, please, for questions and feedback for Ollie.
First, a bit of feedback on the, first of all, the pitch was great. However, the way you structure it is somewhat all over the place with a view to who you're targeting. You know, you kind of like on the intro, you said, okay, career services at university doesn't work. So the first notion is, okay, someone tries to improve that part. In other words, works with universities, etc. Then you go B2C and say, well, you know, our target is the student before you come back. And I think you can streamline that a little bit. What I think you need to focus a lot on is the competition and how you stack up against it. You know, there's not only Glassdoor and LinkedIn. There are any number of sort of application and career facilitating apps and offerings specifically for the younger generations. And if you've followed it, earlier this week, a company called Test Gorilla, based out of Amsterdam, just raised a $70 million A round. And their approach is effectively to completely do away with CVs and all that sort of stuff, and you know, implied slightly more modern pedagogical approaches to eke out what people are actually good at, and at the same time remove bias. So because you're in a pretty competitive space, you know, what you've achieved with limited funding to date is pretty impressive. But so you want to make sure that comes across and people won't just say, oh, it's just another one. I hope that helps.
Yeah, if I respond to that, I think you're right. The B2C versus B2B models, we're exploring that, and that's what we're using the funding for. And I want people to join us on our journey to help us discover what that model will be. The reason why we focused on B2C was because as a startup, it was easy for us to deliver results and de-riskify investment at this stage, with the ambition to go to B2B. So that's kind of the areas that we want to focus on. But again, having that person of advice who's been there and done it will help us navigate through that journey. And you know, with the focused area of what we've delivered, I think the market, again, there's lots of emerging ones. I know Multiverse, they've just raised over 200 million already. And there's a lot of investment going out there in terms of EdTech, but still the problem remains that there's nothing focused for students solely and primarily. There's a lot of new younger companies, but again, they still don't hit the mark with the students. And we've already proven that with our very limited features already.
Perfect. Thank you. That's good. And then last but not least, over to Chris.
Hey, thanks, BD. So Oliver, in terms of positives from the presentation, I've got great presentation skills. I think aesthetically, the slides look good. With the exception of the last slide, I don't like the last slide. It took me quite a while to decipher what it was saying, and it was quite messy. And you've got to think, if that's the last thing that people look at, I was looking at it for quite a while. I had the slides before the session, and I was like, I'm not quite sure what story it's telling. I figured it out in the end, but it confused me a bit. For me, the question that I was left with is I didn't understand the size of the opportunity. So I didn't understand what is the size of the market. And so I think giving some thought to that, it's a big market, I think. So if you talk about universities globally, students going out into universities, Obviously, you've also got employers who are looking to recruit students out to university. So there's probably lots of data out there which would enable you to start to say, we think the market is this big. And I agree with Volker's comment around about, being clear. And my big question, and maybe you haven't figured this out yet, is ultimately who's going to pay? Is it going to be the universities because this is going to be a cheaper and more efficient way of them running their career services? Is it going to be employers because actually they're going to get better graduate students coming through? So that would be my big question in terms of the commercial model. What's the size of the market and what's the business model in terms of who pays for it?
No, definitely. The education market is huge, as all three of you know. We want to focus on the employer to university relationship market, which is an emerging one. That's valued at £18 billion. And we want to target specifically English speaking universities, which is around about 16,000 globally. With that will allow us to generate approximately 160 million by year 5 based on the model that we've built out. And we thoroughly studied that through our distribution network. In terms of the question of who's paying, again, that's something that, rightfully we're trying to explore that now. We have committed revenue already, but with the distribution network we've built, with those 18 pipeline deals, that's with universities, and we've already confirmed interest in buying that. It's just exploring how we can convert them into paid customers, but we can't onboard them yet until we raise our investment round. So again, it's an exploring sense, but we have those models ready in place and actually have tangible sort of support with that to actually execute it with the investment round that we'll have.
Perfect. Thank you. Good feedback. Now let's see what the viewers think. So now over to the polls and let's see what you guys think, whether it's investable, not investable. Do you understand the pitch? So here we go. We've tested out your polling skills. Let's see if you can finish them off here. Give Ollie some quick feedback. And make sure while you're waiting doing this, if you haven't already, we have lots of news and follow-ups and things like that that happen on LinkedIn. So make sure that if you haven't already, go and follow us on LinkedIn, please. I think I'll put that in the chat on the next one. So, okay, let's see what the feedback is, Lauren. There we are. So you understand 91%, 87%, you understand what the ask is because it was fairly clear at the end. And then is investable or not investable? More than half say it's investable. So there's instantaneous feedback and all sorts of other good stuff there for you. Thank you very much, Ollie. And thanks for your pitch. So now we'll move on to the second pitch. Mark from Dynastat Systems. Mark, if you can get your screen shared with us and if we can see you, that would be awesome. And while we're working on this, so I can see Mark, I can see Mark's screen, and I will get my clock up and running here.
Can you hear me, BD?
I can hear you.
Right.
Everybody else can hear? Good. Okay. So just make sure you're speaking up. I can hear you. And Mark, your 5 minutes starts now.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mark Price, and I'm the owner of Dynastat Systems. And we've developed a unique device that will revolutionise the treatment of foot and leg pain. I'm also a consultant bariatric surgeon, and for many years I've dealt with people in severe foot, knee, hip and back pain from poor foot function. I remember many years ago, just after graduating, I was in routine clinics when a middle-aged lady hobbled in. She was in extreme pain with her feet, knees and back, and frankly, everywhere in between. I couldn't find any medical cause for her pain, other than she had a really bad foot position. All she had to help her was a pair of arch sport insoles that had very little control and actually didn't do much to help her. So I decided to use this new treatment of biomechanical assessment and arrange for her to have some custom-made insoles known as orthotics. At that time, there was no way to measure the joint angles of the foot that were needed to control it. And believe it or not, that is still the case today. In fact, all the insoles that are made in the world are made from basically a guess. And that is in a market that is worth an estimated $3.8 billion. That is until now. We've developed a unique device called the Dynastat, which can measure all the important angles of the foot and the pressures across the sole of the foot with the person standing on it. It is a patent pending in our 3 predicted main markets of the UK, EU and USA. So what does that mean? Well, it means that there is no more guesswork in making orthotics. We can now actually measure the angles needed to go on the orthotics, which will make the foot and leg work better. This slide shows how the foot can be made to adjusted so that the toes are now working. Using this information, we can then scan the foot and 3D print the orthotics with the correct angles. This will give the clinician an 80% reduction in their current manufacturing cost, reduce the time to delivery to the user from days to hours, and with a much greener process. But more importantly, give the patient an accurate orthotic. This is the finished product. But let me stress again that this is a functional orthotic and is not a simple arch support. In other words, it corrects angles in the foot to make it work better, unlike the arch support. So who are Dynastat Systems? Obviously there is me with my clinical background, Tom Price, the Chief Technical Operator and Designer. He basically makes it all work. And Dave Dunning, who is an expert in the field of biomechanics, or how we walk. As a group, we have submitted a few papers for publication to support the device and are currently doing more research with Staffordshire University to further support our product. So what is the ask? Well, it is quite simple. At the moment, we're a development company and we need help from either an individual or a company to take the device to market. The device will have two models, a basic model for £7,000 and a full system for £10,000, with an expected sales margin of about 60%. So who will benefit from this new technology? Well, the device is aimed at the healthcare market and will allow clinicians to more accurately assess anyone with foot or leg pain that needs an orthotic. This is particularly important in people with diabetes. There are over 400 million people in the world affected by diabetes, and most of these are very prone to pressure ulcers, which costs the NHS over £650 million per year. By using this system, we can now see where the increased pressure is, but more importantly, we can now see how to correct the overloading. But it isn't just in healthcare where the device can be used. The Dynastat system can be installed into any business that sells any form of footwear, such as Clark Shoes or Sports Direct, where it can bring added value to the sale. We anticipate sales to grow in Europe, UK and Europe from 1 or 2 units per month to 10 units of each model per month by the end of the first year to generate a £1 million growth. But there is also a big world market out there. Oh, and the lady I mentioned at the start, well, I saw her 3 months after she had her functional orthotics, and I was lucky. I had guessed well, but she was now 90% pain-free, able to work a full day, but more importantly, she had her life back. Thank you for listening, and thank you to the Bullring team for this opportunity today.
Perfect. Thanks. Cut it down and finished on time. Perfect. So that's really good. We're going to start off with Chris and go kind of backwards through the order. So Chris, if you could kind of give Mark some feedback that Mark can also answer to.
Yep. Okay, Mark. So on the positive side, I think your expertise starting up front, with what you do professionally, it's great. Good story, brought it to life. Like that you showed the size of the market. So, meaty size market for what is a relatively niche product, but £3.8 billion market. In things this first piece of feedback on the negative side is more personal taste for me. The aesthetics of the slides, like I just found them a little bit dull, both in terms of colour and presentation. And again, it's both you speaking in the slides that matter as a package, but I think you could do more work on the slides, change the colour, present that a little bit better. And then my questions, because I think they sound super interesting. But I guess my question is, what market research have you done in terms of who might be buying this product? Because it sounds like you could be onto a huge winner, but that didn't come through in the pitch in terms of these are, you talked at a high level about who might be buying it, but have you done market research conversations with people and got a sense of there is a real sort of pent up interest for people to take on a product like this?
Yeah, obviously I've got quite a big network of clinicians and colleagues that I know, and I've spoken to most of those that were prepared to listen. And yes, they're all in favour of the idea, basically because they know that now that they can actually take something that they're having to guess at and actually make it much more accurate, which obviously makes it sort of legally a better product, because you're not actually guessing what angles need to go on the device. So you're reducing your claims of litigation against you.
Yeah. Cool. But no, I think that sounds really interesting.
We've also spoken to obviously a few companies who are interested in actually taking on the product as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Good questions, Chris. Okay, let's go over to Volker.
Yeah, some of the ones that Chris mentioned, I'd echo. When it comes to the aesthetics of it, it feels a bit old school, but you know, whatever. What I think you might be able to, an area where you might be able to basically pull more information from your brain, because I'm fairly sure it's in there, is on is dissecting the market a little bit better.
Okay.
You know, maybe add a slide where you basically say, right, okay, so this is the market we're looking at, you know, and these are clinicians and they work, I don't know, in private surgeries or in hospitals or in clinics, etc. Because most people won't know that. And this will determine the sales channels and the routes to market that you need to fill. Now, for both partners, but also potential investors, that's an important bit, because, you know, when you look on your current team, it's very, very tech heavy and very science heavy, which for me as a deep tech investor, I think that's great because it means you know what you're doing. But at the same time, to turn this into a functioning business, you of course then also need that other bit. And by setting out that the composition of the overall market more clearly, you make it a little bit easier for people to kind of like assess the associated risks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. Oh, and then a question. So are you just selling the device as such, one off, and then run into the sunset, or could you, for instance, I don't know.
Yeah, there are other aspects of the device. As a basic model, it would just be the device, but with the full system, they also get a scanner and the ability to 3D print the orthotics, so a small 3D printer actually with the device to print their own devices actually in clinics and so on. Obviously, then there's obviously issues of selling the software updates and the supplies of the 3D printing material. Yeah,
I suspected that. So, you know, if you supply them the 3D printed materials and run, you know, iteratively software updates, and if your CTO, who might be your son or not, you know, with AI background, etc., then there's an obvious one. Now, this would improve your business model a millionfold, because all of a sudden now you're selling Gillette razors, right? Like you sell a razor and an infinite number of blades, which I think, yeah, your overall, the chances of actually landing investment, turning this to something would probably rise on that. Now, as I said, most of that will be in your head, but you know, for these types of pitches, these are really important bits that I think can elevate your pitch.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Volker, and great feedback and lots of questions that I'm sure all of us have out here. Is what's the revenue model? How can you extend the revenue model, and what's the pricing and everything else? So, Vicky, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Great pitch, Mark, because I really understood exactly what it is your product is and what you're doing. I think a bit like the others, really modernizing that a bit would have just really set it alight. You know, it would have really showcased all the hard work and all the tech bit that goes into it. And I suppose, I think going back to Volker's point, I actually think you know more and underestimate that we don't. So perhaps some of that does need to come out. I think the one thing, if you wanted my advice, that would have been really, really good to see is what there is in place now, or what happens now, and how this product improves that. You know, just a summary of that. So this is what patients leave with, or whoever, you know, leaves with at the moment. This is how bad it is or good it is, and this improves this by this much, or it does this and it has this impact. Because I think that would have been really good just for me to see and understand. But you know, very exciting product. It looks fantastic, and yeah, I think it's really great to hear all the good stuff. And I liked your little bit at the end. I thought that was really nice, that brought it right back to the customer, right back to that individual at the end to say.
There's much more to that story, but I didn't bring it in. It was too long. Yeah.
You're speaking to someone who struggled with their feet all their life, so hearing that was like, wow, this might be actually somebody that can solve this problem. So I could completely relate to it. So but I really liked how you brought it right back to the customer at the end. So well done.
Thank you.
Perfect. Great feedback. Thank you so much from the three bulls. Good pitch from Mark. We had a lot of technical difficulties in Pitch Perfect practice, but he's really honed it in. So now let's see what the audience thinks. So if we could put the poll up, Lauren, that'd be great. Perfect. So if everybody can do that. While we're doing that, thing that we're having, if you know anybody that's in the Birmingham area, West Midlands, that wants to, we call it Marketplace. So there's a networking event online where you get to sell your 750 quid product, whatever that is, service, whatever it is, with somebody else. So it's networking with a purpose. So if you want to know more about that, you can contact the Rockfind team. The stuff's there, but just either the Bullring team or the Rockfind team, and we'll get you in touch. It's free, it's online, on Zoom, but we have fun with it. It's been called Barterland, Marketplace, Economy of Hours, all sorts of different things, but it's a good networking with a purpose and a package that opens up conversations. So, okay, let's see the results of the poll. Perfect. Do you understand what he does? That was great, Mark. That was perfect. Do you understand what the ask is? So 25% of the people don't. So if anybody wants to help Mark and is good at sales and is in something around healthcare and knows how to take systems forward, that's what he's looking for. But 25% of the people didn't get that, but that's okay, because 75% essentially did. And the last one was investable, 81%. That's really, really good. So thank you very much for that pitch. It was fabulous. And now our third and final pitcher for the day, Mr. S, as he's called on his screen. But we've got Chris here from The Adventure is Real. Chris, if you could share your screen. And there, you're unmuted. You're good. Your screen is shared. And I'll see you in a second. There's The Adventure is Real. Very colorful. Look at that. Okay. So Chris from The Adventure is Real. Don't even try to make me pronounce your last name. So here we go. Ready? Your 5 minutes starts now.
Hi everyone, my name is Chris Stiliano. I'm the founder and CEO of The Adventure is Real. So, the world has changed. Post-pandemic, more people are working remotely than ever before. 16% of all companies worldwide are now fully remote, and that number is only going to continue to grow. But as much as we love remote working, there are downsides. In the past, teams were based in the office and socialization just happened. People made friends organically, people would go and grab coffees, head out for lunch, drinks in the pub after work. All of these things happened naturally. Now, however, teams are working remotely and none of that is going on. Now, socialization requires lots of time, effort, and hassle. And this is a problem. It's impacting productivity and it's impacting retention. 33% of remote workers say their biggest struggles when working remotely are loneliness and difficulties with communication and collaboration. It's been proved that social connectivity is essential when it comes to maintaining and improving productivity on collaborative tasks when working remotely. Jobs are becoming transactional with no social bonds to differentiate between one and the next. This is a problem, but we have the solution. At The Adventure is Real, we've launched Social as a Service to give teams their very own real-life person dropped into their Slack or MS Teams or whichever communications channel they use to proactively organize and host fun virtual socials and opportunities to connect. They get their very own dedicated virtual social champion. And there's a range of activities as well, from fun interactive content for teams to enjoy asynchronously when it suits them, virtual socials held on a weekly basis, fun interactive games for teams to bond over a shared experience, and then every 6 weeks, our grand flagship adventures hosted by live actors to bring the whole team all together. As for the results, Petaverse Network, fast-growing fully remote tech startup, joined us as our first early adopter back in March. After the first month, their feedback was social as a service gave them better socials, more engagement, and less hassle. And they gave us a Net Promoter Score of 9. When we surveyed their team directly, 67% of those who responded said that communication and collaboration with their colleagues improved, 80% that relationship development with colleagues improved, 83% that the well-being when remote working improved, and 100% enjoyed virtual socials. So who are we? At The Adventure is Real, over the last 24 months, we've been building and hosting great and engaging virtual experiences for the new remote world of work. We've generated over 200,000 revenue to date. We've serviced over 300 companies. We've had over 10,000 players through our virtual doors. We've got an established game design team. We've got a roster of over 40 talented actors. We've won awards for virtual escape rooms, immersive theatre, experience enthusiasts. We've had media coverage in a range of big press, and we've had clients from young, small startups to large established corporates. And as for exit opportunities, there's been a flurry of activity across numerous sectors, HR, remote work, corporate events, to grow by acquisition in this new remote world of work. We have 2 asks. 1, we're looking for early adopters to subscribe to social as a service. If you're a fully remote team, or you know a fully remote team that is struggling to build social connectivity, please send them our way. We'd love to help them. And 2, we are looking for angel investors. We raised a small round last year of £150,000, and this year we're raising up to £200,000 via an advanced subscription, to be followed by a larger seed round of 1 to 2 million later this year. So, in summary, we are The Adventure is Real. We have the solution for social connectivity in remote teams. We're looking for early adopters and angel investors. I'd love to take your questions. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That was great. Fabulous. We'll start off with Chris this time.
Hey, Chris. Great name. Great pitch.
you.
So in terms of feedback, I think really, really polished pitch, like really good pace, really good structure, like your slides, like the aesthetics of the slides. A bit nitpicky in terms of things that could be improved. It felt that there was a bit of an inconsistency, because on the slide where you talked about the early adopter, it made it sound like you'd be going for 3 months. And then on the next slide, you talked about going for 2 years. And I guess what I figured out afterwards was, oh, you've launched the social as a service 3 months ago. So that's like the evolution. But that just jarred slightly with me. I was like, wait a second, I'm not sure what the story is here. So I guess you've been doing stuff for the past 2 years. I guess I'm seeking to clarify. And then actually you've now taken that experience and developed that into the social as the service model.
Yes, that's exactly right. So we've been, we started at the start of the pandemic creating virtual experiences, and we've been building on that, creating new ones over the past 2 years. And towards the end of last year, we identified that there was a real problem with fully remote teams, and that social connectivity element wasn't present. Hence, we developed this solution to solve that problem.
Yeah. Okay. but yeah, that for me, I don't know whether for others, but that just kind of, and I think you could tell that story because actually you've got the experience, you've got the learning, you've not just looked at the problem and jump straight to the solution. It feels like you've been working in the problem, and now actually you've got a solution that is both scalable and one which resolves that issue, which I think products like this might have, which is people buy it and then they get bored of it and then they unsubscribe. So that was my sort of feedback. I think this is a huge problem coming up, and as I listened to Bruce Daisley podcast, Eat Sleep Repeat, and he sort of talked a lot about this. So I think you're in an area where I think there's going to be a definite need for solutions like yours. But I also do think there are already competitors in there, and it'd be interesting to understand your view of the competitive landscape.
Yeah, so on that front, I mean, there's lots of companies offering one-off sort of virtual things to do. The problem we identified is that actually organizing that for a team is so much hard work, especially when virtual. And because you're a virtual team, because there's nothing organic going on, it kind of has to be organized, which means that you need to be practically doing this even more often. So trying to do something every week is a huge burden on a company. So the idea is that we're trying to take that pain away by doing the organization on our client's behalf, to solve that. There are some other people in this space who are trying to offer a more recurring service similar to us. At the moment, they've all jumped to create really complex tech platforms from the get-go. And a lot of them have invested a lot of time in basically creating another version of Zoom. We've been speaking to our clients and they've said that actually that's not needed. They don't need anything new to the tech stack. So we've really tried to focus on creating things that integrate with what they're already using. So not trying to add on brand new tech unless we know it's definitely what they want. And the key thing is we're giving them, a percentage of a person in the dedicated virtual social champion, which no one else is currently doing.
Perfect. Okay, that's great. Thanks for the question, Chris. And Chris, now over to Vicky, please. So for your feedback and questions.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. Great presentation.
Thank you.
It was really, really clear, really understood, visually looked great. I think if I was being nitpicky, it would just be the one slide with the two sets of data on. I think there was one around a circular one that was, and then there was another one, and it took me a little bit just to read, to get the message. Actually, more so on the second graph on there, if I'm being honest. So I don't know if there's a way of condensing that, but I am being picky. I think mine was, again, it was around what the competitors look like, and also what was running through my mind is what risk is there of companies bringing you in, doing this, then copying it in their businesses themselves? Does there need to be some kind of protection around that? But then the opportunity side of my brain was going, but this actually links into a much wider area of well-being. So there might be other opportunities in the future to, broaden the scope, because a social champion is just one champion, if you like, in an organisation of linked to all sorts of well-being initiatives that they'll be doing. So I think it's also got some great opportunities. So really, that's my little bit of feedback, and I can really see the need. I can really understand how businesses need this. The challenge for you is keeping it fresh so that people don't get bored. I think Chris mentioned it, unsubscribing and moving on to the next thing. But that's your job to do. So I'm sure you'll be having ideas on how you're going to do that. But yeah, great pitch. Well done.
Perfect.
Thank you, Vicky.
I don't think there's a lot of questions there. So I mean, the good feedback, not a lot of questions. So we'll move on to Volker for that.
Thanks. So no, I liked it. I liked it. Really good cadence of the pitch. The way your pitch runs is tells a lot stronger story than your own website does. So bear that in mind. What was missing on the slides, it's been mentioned, is I think you should look at market sizing, and I think you will be surprised how big it is, because you effectively look at employee retention, which is one of the bigger costs for employers. And I think what a lot of employers are now realizing is that for either partially or fully remote organizations that creates headaches that have been unknown before. So, you know, to what Vicky said before, I think if you can keep it fresh, there's a big thing to go after. What is also missing is your business model and numbers. You should always have them in a pitch. People need them. They will ask them. They might look boring, but you know. And then but this is me, sort of tech investor me. There is a very service-driven element in this, which technology investors are nervous about because service doesn't often scale. But then there is, and this came through in your comments just now, there's a platform component to this, you know, where you say, okay, there's a ton of people who can do stuff, and they do, but we are the ones who actually organize that stuff. So I think if you build that element out a bit and highlight this a bit more, and I'm sure that your 2 years of building it towards where you are today will have taught you a lot about this. I think that would seriously strengthen it, because then you can effectively sell it almost, social as a service, as in true SaaS, and that there is a service component in that. Even a box standard SaaS investor will understand. You know, there is that element, but that would allow you to convince people much more easily that what you're building is actually scalable. And then my little nitpick at the end, I think it is probably, so from what you were saying, I think it's probably more about just having actors. You know, you may have in the future for certain activities, you may have, I don't know, cocktail mixers or clowns or whoever. And again, I think this is that element of having a platform and then having elements on that platform, of which one group might be those actors who facilitate those big all hands events. But I think you are sort of diverting attention a little bit without having to, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Thank you very much, Volker.
And I think that the thing for me, and just kind of chiming in on the very end of it, was, if you're asking for clients, tell us how much it costs, or what we can expect for our costs, because then, if nothing else, we'll kind of be able to figure out, okay, well, if a company costs £1,000 a year to do this for a team of 10 or whatever it is, then part of us as investors can go, okay, well, then he needs 10,000 companies or 10,000 employees to get to X number to then be able to raise £1 million or whatever it is. But it was a good pitch. Now let's see what the audience thinks. So Lauren, if you could throw up the poll so we can see what people thought of The Adventure Is Real. Here we go. And if you want your own bull ring, we've done all sorts of things for British Business Bank, for Barclays Eagle Labs. We've done West Midlands Combined Authority, Worcester County Council. So we run these to make sure we can show off your entrepreneurs or your students or your people with ideas. So if you can think of anybody that would benefit from showcasing their entrepreneurs and their businesses, just get in contact with the team at thebullring.club, and we'll see how we can get that going. So Lauren, if you would please show us the polls. So 85% understands what you do. 75% understands what the ask is. And the last one, I always have to scroll to it. It's always great. Oh, 50-50. Oh, a little bit. I'll give you the 50-50 in a recession, but we're good there. So, but the good thing is, with all investment, you want hell no's or hell yes. You want people that are either going to be all on board or all not on board. So having 50-50 is not bad either. That just still means that you got it. You know, politicians have to do a lot harder than that. So it's good. So now we do the wrap up. So what we do here is we get a little bit of overall feedback from the bulls. I finish off after that. But Mike, if you could say what you saw from the entrance in Pitch Perfect practice to what you saw today, kind of give some feedback, generic feedback, and then we'll go kind of that back to the bulls, and then I'll wrap up. So over to you, Mike.
Yeah, just first things first, all pitches today, the contrast from Pitch Perfect practice and what you've developed is sort of leaps and bounds ahead. And the great news is that there's always going to be subjectivity about what a bull wants to see, what another investor wants to see. And so we're never going to please everybody all of the time. And that's what I really liked about the pitches today, is you just went straight. And then when you're asked questions, you were all totally prepared and able to respond accordingly. A couple of things I'd like to see a little bit more of next time is, I will always say this, but this is so difficult when you are pitching your absolute living, breathing baby that you're creating, and you're presenting to a camera lens the size of your fingernail, and you're getting zero interaction, zero response, zero refreshing, or whatever else. You can't tell if the audience is awake or asleep or anything like that. It's so tough. However, that said, we just need to turn up the energy a bit more. Let's put a smile on your face, because I know it's serious because we're talking about business and money and everything else, but we've got to be enjoying it, because the more engaging you are, the more engaging you will be with the potential investors, collaborators, partners, non-execs, etc., etc. So let's just turn up that energy, put on the smile. I'm not talking about a politician's cheesy grin, but just when your energy is there, let your passion come through. And if it's too much for some people, great, because you'll have turned them off early, which means they're not the right partner for you anyway. And if it's not enough, great. Well, that's not so great, is it? So we want to focus on, let's turn it up, give people the real chance to fall in love with you, your business and your experience and everything else. So much stronger than Pitch Perfect practice. Well done, everybody. Thank you.
Perfect. Vicky, over to you for kind of just a roundup of the overall pitches and things, and maybe one or two things that you would have liked to have seen in the 3 pitches overall, not individually, but kind of as a cohort.
Yeah, I think they all did a fantastic job. And, you know, I agree, doing it online is sometimes challenging, but doing it face to face can also have its challenges. But I think one of the things that stands out for me is I think everybody came across as very authentic, very believable, and really cared about the businesses. So it didn't feel, you know, cheesy. You know, it all felt very real, which I felt was really, really positive. And yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it. It's my first one, so it's hard for me to compare yet, but I think they did a fantastic job, so well done.
Perfect. Then we'll go to Chris next. Just generic feedback, maybe something you would have liked to have seen that most of the slides left off, or blase black and green colors.
Yeah, so for me, I think I always like to see sort of the market size. I always like people to, as I said in the intro, and I think that came through in the voiceover, but I think really telling clearly the size of the opportunity, and then I always want to be excited. So I agree with Mike's thing. I like to see people energized and excited about the vision of what they're going to achieve. And so those two things for me, size of market and why your organization is going to be the one that really makes the most of that opportunity, because we live in a very competitive world. And so, you know, when people say, oh, there aren't anybody else doing this, and I always kind of think they just haven't researched hard enough, because there's always somebody else doing it. And actually the secret is you're going to be the ones that do it. So those two things for me, market opportunity and why you're going to be the ones to succeed.
Perfect. Those are really good, and I like that. And then over to you, Volker.
Yeah, I agree with Chris when it comes to market. The other missing slide is sort of clear business models and explain them. So what I would, from an investor perspective, recommend is that people look up and use the Sequoia Capital pitch deck, which kind of like had stood the test of time. You all have elements of it in your things. It's the whole thing of problem solution, why us, why now, etc., etc., etc. The advantage of this approach is that you will have a complete pitch. You know, some investors value certain things above others, but if you kind of like use this as your guide, then at least you can say, okay, you will have at least given everyone a glimpse. This forcing yourself into that pitch also means that you're avoiding your own blind corners, so to speak, your own blind spots. And if, you know, as an entrepreneur, you know everything. It's I mentioned it to Mark earlier. You know, it's when it comes to the structure of the market, for instance. I'm 100% sure he knows how that looks, but it didn't. You know, there was nothing in his slide saying so, and to as you know, to what Mike said, it is at the very start. The pitch and the pitch deck are effectively to arouse interest and basically to get to the next base. And you simply want to avoid that something that you know and something that is in your head and that you've been thinking about long and hard for a long time, just because it's not in your pitch or in your slides might lose you a deal, whatever the deal you're seeking is. But overall, the pitches themselves, all three of them, I thought were really well delivered. The question on energy on screen, to me, is almost secondary because it is really tough. If you can muster it and if you can, you know, do the big show, by all means, do it. But I thought you all presented really well, so I enjoyed that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. And I think the one thing, and I'll go back on Volker's, is the business model. So how are you going to sell it? What's it for? And that didn't come through on any of the pricing on any one of the slides. And then they're all good. And we had stuff. We Mike and I typically to protect the pitchers, we typically dissuade them from using total accessible market because they come up with this 7 trillion pound number. So we say, could you boil it down to number of hospitals in the UK that you can approach? You know, so it's you go from total accessible market to an actually accessible market in the next 3 to 5 years. But that sometimes gets lost in the cutting and chopping of things. But the Sequoia Capital, that is awesome. It's a great idea, and we'll put that out in the newsletter that will follow up from this. Lauren, if we can go to the next slide. So we're having the summer off. I'm going to the States. I'm leaving. I haven't been there for 4 years, so I need to go home and see the family. So we're going to take time off. We've got 2 pitchers already lined up for September the 15th. We still need 1 more. So if you know anybody that wants to pitch on the 15th of September, please send them our way, because we want to do that. And we'll get into the regular. And thank you very much, Volker, for putting them in there. We have the 15th. So if you have another company that wants to pitch, get them to us. This is our chance to show off and help Entrepreneur Land show off what they've got, have some fun, get some feedback. But hopefully, if you are doing any sort of sales or anything else that's out there, you can take this back to not only a pitch deck to ask for money, but you can take it back to your regular sales plan. You can take it back to your sales teams, because sales and asking for money is all pretty much the same thing. You're just selling a different product. But I wanted to thank everybody today. I wanted to thank the pitchers. We'll put them all out in the newsletter. Thank you so much to Vicky and to Chris and to Volker, because without that, this would just be pitching and everybody would run away. But your guys' feedback is invaluable. It was great for the people in the audience, and it was amazing to have you guys on. And thank you so much for your time and expertise and your focus for us. It was very helpful. Thanks to Mike, my partner, for making sure that we grill them in pitch perfect practice. And thank you to Lauren for making sure that I can talk and use my hands and do all that stuff while she's running the slides. So thank you very much for making that happen. We're going to hang around a little bit afterwards if you want to hang around, and we'll have a little bit of a conversation with the pitchers, some of the bulls. If you want to head off and go and enjoy the rest of the sunshine that we'll have for the next day or two, then make that happen. But thank you to the pitchers and everybody else. So enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you in September. Thank you very much.